If you were to just focus on taking supplements to kill cancer cells, you're just not doing yourself any service. I would say the research is super weak. You might even be taking some of the wrong things. You might even be taking things that are duplicated. Like if you're taking melatonin for killing cancer stem cells, then you probably potentially don't need EGCG, for example. Like you don't need both of them. So we don't want to duplicate it. We don't want to just focus there. That's like 10% of what needs to happen when it comes to reducing the risk of cancer coming back. Pretty well, 50% or more. I've never actually calculated it, but this is just a feeling that I have. About 50% or more of the clients that we see when they initially come to us, they have a list of probably at least a dozen different supplements that they're taking. And their thoughts are that they are cancer-killing supplements or they are anti-cancer supplements. And then what we end up doing is we review this list of supplements that they're taking, and then we try to explain why most of them aren't actually going to help them and what do we want to do instead. And typically our goal is to get that list down to maybe 5, or at least kind of put them on a cyclical plan where they take maybe a couple more for a certain shorter period of time, and then they stop. We kind of top things up, and then they don't need them anymore. And then we can stop them for a certain period of time, then we start them again, just depending mostly on what's going on in their body and what are their priorities. Because what really happens post-treatment is that your mindset needs to shift. And today we're going to talk about what that mindset shift looks like. And it's not like an emotional or mental health episode that we're going to look at. It's more like, what do we need to think about when it comes to reducing your risk of cancer coming back above and beyond just taking something to kill cancer cells or because it is anti-cancer? And the way I see it, that if you are NED, if you're no evidence of disease, if you're post-treatment, the idea is that there really aren't any or many cancer cells left to kill because treatment has taken care of that. The cancer is gone and the cells to be killed aren't there any longer. So why are we getting people to focus on killing cancer cells post-treatment? It isn't really a viable way to look at keeping cancer from coming back if there aren't any cancer cells there currently, especially when you're nearing the end or just finished treatment. There really shouldn't be any cancer cells there. Now, that's aside from cancer stem cells, which I'll totally talk about in an episode in the hopefully near future, although I feel like I'm going to have to start doing podcast episodes twice a week in order to cover everything I am super excited to talk about. We'll get to cancer stem cells at some point, and in case you don't know what cancer stem cells are, they are thought to be kind of the potential cause of recurrences, where there are the toughest or trickiest cancer cells. They've kind of evaded treatment and they just kind of lay dormant, and then they get reactivated or triggered at some point, and that's what potentially causes a recurrence. And we will talk about that in a different episode because I think we can go really into detail on that for sure. I will mention a few things at the end as well about cancer stem cells, but I get it. But overall, if we're thinking big picture, we're looking at there being no cancer cells left post-treatment. So we should not be looking at taking cancer or taking supplements to kill cancer cells when there's nothing there to kill. So to kind of set an idea here, what is the goal for during treatment? There's a couple of them. So what are the goals? The goal is to kill cancer cells for sure, because there's active cancer cells there between your conventional therapies, whether it's radiation, chemotherapy, surgery, immunotherapy, whatever it might be. The goal of those is to kill the cancer cells that are present. And then we can add in a few additional holistic naturopathic things in order to help to target some of the cancer cells as well and kill them. So this is all during treatment. The second goal is to reduce the side effects from treatment so that you can have a better life while going through treatment, because sometimes it can be 6 months, a year, it could be lifelong, depending on what kind of diagnosis you've received. So we want you to feel as good as possible while going through treatment. And this is something that holistic medicine can help you with. And then also we want to make sure that your conventional treatment is working as effectively as possible. And that's something, again, that we want to do. It's a goal to have while you're going through active treatment. But post-treatment, your goals really need to switch to keeping cancer from coming back. And the way that we look at that is by creating an environment in the body that is not conducive to cancer starting or growing. So there are 5 key areas that I'm going to talk about today in great detail, and I'm going to list them out for you right now. So the first goal that we want to have to support someone post-treatment, looking at reducing the risk of cancer coming back, looking at healing their body, is to look deep into how cancer may have started. We're also going to look at applying research-based strategies, so what has been shown in the research to reduce cancer from coming back. We're going to look at, thirdly, strengthening your anti-cancer defenses and helping you to heal as fast as possible. The fourth thing is to reduce exposures to cancer-promoting substances. And then the fifth thing is to kill cancer stem cells or kill cancer cells. But it is last on my list for a reason. It's because it is potentially the least important thing to do when we're looking at supporting someone post-treatment and helping them to keep cancer from coming back. So what I'm going to do in this episode, I'm going to go through each of those 5 buckets of information, I guess we could say, and go into them in detail. What can we do under each of those in order to reduce the risk of cancer coming back? So let's start from the beginning. I'm just going to cut right to the chase. First thing we're going to do is look deep into how cancer may have started, because we may not know exactly, and you've probably heard me say this many times, we don't know 100% what caused cancer, as we have in terms of our knowledge and research when it comes to cancer. As of today, which I'm recording this on September 1st, 2025, we don't know exactly what causes cancer just yet, but we can totally go above and beyond eating well and exercising. There's so much more we can look into from a functional medicine perspective. And I think it was Albert Einstein who said that the definition of insane is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. And if we just put someone through treatment, and yes, we've treated the cancer, it's gone, and then send them on their way, how are we going to expect a different result? What if the cancer, what's keeping the cancer from coming back if we don't change the initial stages as to why cancer may have started in the first place? So let's change the environment in your body in order to get a different result post-treatment. And that's really where it comes down to helping to reduce recurrence risk. And that's everything I'm going to talk about ever on every podcast episode, but today in particular. So cancer is, we know, mostly a disease of lifestyle and the environment, and not necessarily always the part of the destiny of our genes, although some people do have some predispositions. We can still, even if you have a predisposition to getting cancer, we can still change your environment so that it's not encouraging cancer to start or grow. So if you go back to episode 7, I talked about root causes. It's really going to play into this part where the number 1 bucket I'm talking about today, where we're looking deep into how it may have started. Go back to episode 7 if you haven't already. And I go through not all of them, but quite a few different reasons as to why cancer may start in the body. And we want to use that as a point of reference when it comes to helping to reduce your risk of cancer coming back. And just some key takeaways from that episode might be to do your testing. So we want to look at your blood work, everything from the blood work really tells us what is the environment in your body right now, and even a little bit what was the environment in your body several months ago, or even longer than that. So we're looking at your blood sugar regulation above and beyond just an HbA1c. I want to look at your fasting insulin, fasting glucose, use those to calculate your HOMA-IR. We can also look at your inflammatory markers, potential growth factors, your vitamins, minerals, immune strength, super important pieces of information that can tell us a little bit more about how is your body functioning right now. What is the environment within your body? What's going on underneath the skin, beneath the hood? And we can use that data to optimize it to help create more of an environment that's going to be strong against cancer and find cancer before it's a problem, because that's what your immune system does, and kind of kill them off or help them to heal. Just all these different things we can find on your blood work. In fact, I have a blood work boot camp coming up. It is 4 days of training, so different training every day, where I'm going to pick apart different parts of your blood work. I'm going to go through your CBC and your vitamins and minerals, your inflammatory levels, potential growth factors, organ function, all the different parts that I can think of. This is what we do with our clients in the Roadmap to Recovery, is we want to look at their blood work, what's going on under the hood. And in this boot camp, I'll go through it. I'll educate you on what each of the pieces mean, and then what can you do with that data. So it helps us, for example, with picking out the best nutrition plans and the best supplements when it comes to supporting certain parts of their blood work in order to make them better, in order to create this environment where cancer doesn't want to be, doesn't want to grow. So I'm sorry, I talked about that a little bit more than I anticipated, but I'm just super excited for it. You can go over to flourishaftercancer.com/bootcamp to learn more about that. It's happening September 11th, 12th, 15th, and 16th of this year, 2025. So just going back to here, we want to gather your information, your data points to let us know the environment. So part of that is your blood work. Part of that is your epigenetics, which is a saliva test typically. This epigenetics test, it kind of tells us like, how does your body see the world? I talked about epigenetics as well as other testing like heavy metals, looking at trace minerals, gut health, things like that in episode 4, I think it was. So again, you can go back to episode 4 to learn a little bit more about gathering your data, understanding what's going on under the hood when it comes to functional testing, specialty testing. And then if you want to learn more about your blood work, I have a blood work boot camp coming up as well. So much on the horizon here. So that's just the starting point. Bucket number 1 is to look deep into how it may have started. So let's change the environment. We got to figure out what the environment is like before we try to change it. So we do your blood work, we do your epigenetics, we look at any potential additional testing, and also just generally your health history. So what is your past medical history? What is even your family's medical history? Were there signs and symptoms before this started? Do you have signs and symptoms now that can lead us to more information as to what might be going on, again, under the hood as to why cancer may have started? So go check out episode 7 and episode 4 if you want a little bit more information on the underlying causes of cancer. That's episode 7. And then more on testing is in episode 4 if you want to learn a little bit more about that. Or just stick with me right now and we'll keep going through things. The second bucket of information is to apply research-backed strategies that have strong, solid evidence behind them as to what would help to reduce the risk of cancer coming back. And I look at it as in like the first point I just talked about, where we look at root causes and testing. It's more of an individualized approach where we're gathering your specific information, but we don't want to forget to apply the potentially more generalized information that has solid population-based data points that we can apply. And that would be the research. So we're looking at testing, individualized, and then research, which is more generalized approach to reducing cancer risk. So we're looking at like, are you exercising enough? Because we know that, for example, strength training 2 to 3 times a week can really drastically help to reduce cancer from coming back, especially even in some studies up to 50%, 40, 50% basically. So that's a huge chunk of a huge ability in order to reduce your risk of cancer coming back. We also want to look at like, are you eating enough plants? Because there's a lot of solid information showing that the more plants that we eat in our diet, the greater our reduction in cancer, getting cancer in the first place and cancer coming back too. Is your gut healthy? There's a lot of evidence showing that good gut health can help to improve your cancer risk, so decrease them basically. Is vitamin D optimized? I'll go a little bit more into that in the boot camp as well, but there's a lot of research showing that optimal vitamin D levels, not just okay, but optimal vitamin D levels will help people to reduce the risk of cancer coming back or getting cancer in the first place. Are you sleeping well, managing stress? Do you have a healthy body weight? Like all of this information has a lot of solid evidence behind it for reducing cancer risk. So again, it's more generalized, but still very important things that we want to apply to your cancer reducing plan, your cancer recurrence reduction plan. So the third bucket of information is to strengthen your anti-cancer defenses and to heal from cancer treatment as fast as possible. So we want to heal from cancer treatment as fast as possible because cancer treatment is very pro-inflammatory. Chemo, radiation, surgery, they all cause inflammation, which is fine because the inflammation is actually what goes and kills the cancer cells. We want that to happen. But once treatment is done, and even a little bit during treatment, we want to kind of monitor, mitigate that level of inflammation so it's not going to be too cancer promoting because cancer thrives off of inflammation. So especially post-treatment, we want to heal your body as fast as possible. We want to heal from surgery, want to improve your detoxification processes. We want to restore vitamins and minerals and all the things that your body used up in order to process your chemo, your surgery, any medications you might have been put on. We want to help to decrease inflammation from radiation burns and things like that, because the quicker we can tackle the inflammation from treatment, the less resources and kind of environment that the body will be put in that will be more conducive to cancer starting and growing, because inflammation feeds cancer. So we really want you to heal as fast as possible. By healing as fast as possible, we're also going to reduce your risk of getting secondary cancer, secondary diseases. And you're going to feel better too if we help you to heal as fast as possible, heal that inflammation. So whatever it takes in order to heal the inflammation, it kind of depends more on what you're going through, what your inflammation symptoms are. Can we dig into like what's causing the inflammation? That's really where we're going to tackle. That's the healing part. And then when it comes to strengthening your anti-cancer defenses, the big part of that is helping to boost your immune system. because I've mentioned once, I'll mention 100 million times that your immune system is responsible for finding and fighting cancer cells before they actually become a problem. So one, we can look at that on your blood work, see where is your immune system in terms of the ratios of neutrophils to lymphocytes and your overarching white blood cell count and things like that. And if we can do certain things in order to improve that, mostly coming from eating well, reducing inflammation, because inflammation is kind of like your immune system gone haywire, I guess, is how we can kind of vaguely describe it. And there's certain things like certain foods, like optimal zinc levels, even potentially mushrooms. And my favorite is mistletoe injection therapy that can help to improve your immune system. So just to kind of recap, 3 is we want to strengthen your anti-cancer defenses. We want to heal as fast as possible. Healing looks like resolving inflammation left over from what happened in your body due to treatment. And boosting your immune system is going to be what's going to strengthen your anti-cancer defenses. All right. And then we got 2 more here to go through. So the 4th one is to reduce your exposure to cancer-promoting substances, which I think a lot of you could be pretty familiar with. We want to do what we can in order to reduce our exposures to pollutants, and just environmental contaminants, xenoestrogens, straight up carcinogens. You probably have started working on this already. Potentially, it's okay if you haven't, but I think a lot of you guys, whenever you come to talk with us, you have already kind of mentioned like, oh yeah, I cleaned out my laundry detergent. I started using different cleaning products. I've been looking at my makeup and my lotions and shampoos and things like that. And I'm trying to find cleaner products. You're looking for things that are paraben, BPA, phthalate free. Potentially you're looking at your food, and whenever you can, you're going more organic or grass fed. This is very important because we are reducing our body's exposure to things that might encourage more cancerous processes to happen. So very important part of helping to keep cancer from coming back is to not expose ourselves to things that are going to cause cancer. So very important. And I just want to put out there that we can't control everything. Absolutely not. Perfection is not possible unless you live in a bubble, basically. And I don't encourage that because there's some downsides to living in a bubble too that could be cancer promoting. What if your bubble is made of plastics and then you end up having too many microplastics in your body? Or, I mean, like, I think the biggest one is you're limiting your social exposure if you're living in a bubble. So we want to make sure that we aren't aiming for perfection. We really want to look at what can we do, what can we control within a certain extent. And then whenever you go out to friends' houses or travel, vacation, you know that you've got a solid routine at home that's going to bring your body back into balance. And whenever you can control things, whenever you are at home, whenever you are in your typical routine, you're building up such strong defenses and it's such a great environment in your body that whenever you're exposed to other things outside of what you can control, your body can handle it. Your body is magical. It can do so much. So I don't want you to be stressing all the time over the canned tuna sandwich that your friend fed you at the lunch picnic or something like that. So we don't need to be too worried about the BPA, the can of the tuna and things like that. We really want to do what we can at home for sure. And again, things I'm going to cover in the near future when it comes to environmental exposures, things like that, super important. So we also want to look at, lastly, killing cancer cells. And you might have thinking like, Megan just said not to focus on killing cancer cells. And I kind of did, but at the same time, we can do some cancer killing. It's just, I want you to know that it's not the most important thing. But whenever we're looking at cancer killing cancer stem cells or killing cancer cells, there are a few things that have been studied mostly or pretty much only in animal studies or even just cell studies. I don't poo-poo them. We still want to use them. But we're looking at supplements like curcumin, we're looking at high-dose melatonin, we're looking at EGCG, even potentially berberine. These have all been looked at for their potential to kill cancer stem cells. Also, a lot of chemotherapies will target cancer stem cells. Different types of conventional therapies target cancer stem cells. But these are some natural things that we would potentially apply for some of the women that we work with. Fasting is also an option to potentially target cancer cells, kill cancer cells. Mostly fasting is great for something called autophagy, which is helping to maintain just maintain cell health, basically, before they even become cancer. But it also can, again, induce like your immune system, just overall improve inflammation levels in your body. Fasting can help with that too. And then there's some like special equipment like hyperbaric oxygen chambers that can potentially target cancer cells as well. But it is the last bucket of information for a reason because I find it is the least important. Unfortunately, it's also the one that is most commonly focused on when it comes to supporting your life post-treatment when you're trying to make sure that cancer's not coming back. So we went through that pretty quickly, but I just want to recap. So again, after treatment, your goal is not to kill cancer cells. It is to create an environment where cancer just doesn't want to be. So how do we do this? We want to look deep into how cancer may have started in the first place. We secondly want to apply research-backed strategies that have really strong evidence around reducing recurrence risk. The third thing is to strengthen your anti-cancer defenses, so mainly your immune system, and also to heal from cancer-promoting inflammation that was caused by treatment as fast as possible. Again, looking at reducing inflammation so cancer doesn't have that fuel in order to drive it starting and growing. We also want to reduce exposure to cancer-causing substances. So we talked about your lotions, shampoo, laundry detergent, things like that. And then lastly, we want to kill cancer stem cells as best as we can. So all of these together, and we should touch on all of them whenever we're looking at someone and whenever you're creating your plan to reduce the risk of cancer coming back, all of these should be a well-rounded way in order to create this environment in your body where cancer just doesn't want to be. If you were to just focus on taking supplements to kill cancer cells, you're just not doing yourself any service. I would say the research is super weak. You might even be taking some of the wrong things. You might even be taking things that are duplicated. Like if you're taking melatonin for killing cancer stem cells, and you probably potentially don't need EGCG, for example, like you don't need both of them. So we don't want to duplicate it. We don't want to just focus there. That's like 10% of what needs to happen when it comes to reducing the risk of cancer coming back. So I hope that was helpful for you today. Again, you don't have to do everything at once. We want to prioritize. We want to build your plan over time. We want to work on one thing, tackle it, and then move on to the next thing. And if you are looking for a little bit of help potentially with prioritizing what's most important for you, we do want to start with blood work. That's what we do with everybody. Blood work is so important, so helpful. And if you do want to learn a little bit more about my blood work bootcamp, you can go over to flourishaftercancer.com/bootcamp and we'll fill you in on what's going on there. Again, to help you to prioritize what's most important for you, to target a little bit more about what's going on under the hood in your body. So thank you so much for joining me. It was a little bit of a quicker episode today, but here's to you flourishing after cancer, and I'll see you next time. Thank you so much for joining me today on the Flourish After Cancer podcast. If you loved this episode, please be sure to leave a review and subscribe so you never miss an episode. Sending all my best your way, Dr. Megan.